differentiate between employees' benefits and flexible benefits, explain HURM administration, differentiate between wellness, health, and safety, describe the current trends in terms of health and safety issues, employee assistance programs, and workplace health and safety, to name but a few. Just to advise everybody, this recording will be posted in the next 24 hours as normal on the YouTube channel. But also the slide will be posted on the ARC presentation under the excuse me, under the lecture resources document. And as always, we will continue with our extramural activities around reading, as well as the quiz and other eventualities that we'll have in terms of this learning unit. All right. Just by way of where we are, just to make sure that you are reading your slides, as it were, as well as looking at the registers of what we need to do and how we are supposed to do them going forward. If there is anything that you need to discuss or need to talk about, please let me know. I think the important thing here is that we all are mindful as to what's taking place across our learning units, which obviously incorporates around the module outline, as well as the content that's been posted onto ARC. If you have any concerns or issues that you would like to address, pop me an email or pop me a mail on the platform, and I will let you know what needs to be done. Just again, I know there was a bit of confusion around to find the link. As you all know, the link was posted yesterday morning on ARC in the announcements, and I do know that it went through, so that should not be a problem dialing in. All right. On that note, I've hovered to see if anybody else will join, so we will crack on as to what needs to be done. Okay. Learning number 6 looks at the remuneration and laws regulating in the HRM field. Question: what is the meaning of remuneration? Okay. It's often misspelled or confused with the word remuneration. Remuneration is defined as the money and benefits someone receives after performing a service. Remuneration, or to remunerate, refers to the act of recounting. What are the different types? There are numerous out there. Payment, compensation, giving, remittance, disbursement, and reimbursement. But also in terms of where we are and the world is moving towards. Having driverless motor cars, looking at communication channels without cell phones. So those kind of things, I'm just making the point that please be mindful. In the HR field, the term remuneration will be changing, ever evolving to the point where what best describes it. Okay. And yes, I'm not going to go through all this in terms of the bump, but I think it's around the total compensation package one receives for fair exchange for labor or the work that you have completed for organization or said organization in question. Just again, be mindful if you look at excuse me, if you look at the world that's evolving all the time, you can clearly see that this avenue or opportunity that's evolving, it needs to make sure that we are compliant in terms of understand the world of AI and how people will be remunerated in terms of how you do it and what needs to be done, which is vital to understand what those requirements are. Okay, so again, just be mindful in terms of what it is and how you're doing remuneration. An example, for example, driverless motor cars. Will motor cars be needed in the future? Okay, will we need to own a motor car? Will it be needed to open or own a motor car from the point of view and relevance of what you're trying to do in terms of remuneration? That could well be something different. So yeah, there's a lot in play. That also involves around how work and jobs will be compensated for accordingly. I just want to touch on that. There's a lot we can talk about this for the next 5 days, but just be mindful of that and how it comes to the fore. How do you understand what remuneration is? Okay, and also remember, I'm going to highlight this. Everybody can please take note of it. That when this comes to the fore, it can sometimes be repetitive, negative in terms of remuneration, but also can contribute to the development in terms of not having the right conditions as well as the right remuneration package. What do you understand by it? Okay, it is not just money. It is not just salary and wages and bonuses. It could be other forms of remuneration by time, by money, yes, but it could be different forms of money. It could be one day Bitcoin. It could be one day not having, it could be a time in terms of the combination of all three, but also it could be around how one goes about getting the benefits of AI, okay? Lessening the load. It could be a 4-day week. It could be a 6-day week, but with less hours. So all of those things, in terms of what the systems are, and what if, for example, a normal remuneration is a fixed monthly remuneration paid to the employee, whether the amount is fixed or variable in terms of the contract of service or contract of services that are in place. So, oh gosh, what's happening here? So, what is remuneration? Remuneration describes the forms of compensation an employee receives in return for working at a company. It may include salaries and wages, bonuses, stock options, overtime pay, additional paid time, meal plan, use of a company car, or could be use of, example, instead of a company car, Uber Air. It could, instead of a fuel allowance, it could be a battery allowance or battery allowance at your home. It could be water consumption in terms of allowance. So all there's numerous things that one could put into effect, all right, then the traditional mindset of what needs to do and how you're supposed to do it. All right, what are the main objectives of a RMS system? All right, key takeaways are the compensation management ensures fair and competitive pay structures that attain, attract, and motivate top talent while aligning with business goals. Its key objectives include attracting skilled employees, maintaining morale, ensuring compliance, and reflecting market trends. What is the main objective of the employee management system? The purpose of an employee management system is to help improve workforce productivity, identify ways to enhance and retain talent, alleviate administrative burdens for HR professionals. Achieving greater efficiency through the use of technology can also help to utilize and to control cost where relevant and where applicable. All right, objectives of compensation, they're there in front of you. Ordinarily, we do an exercise, but effective compensation talks about acquiring personnel, acquiring staff, retain employees, ensure equity, as in constant, reward behavior, control the costs, legal compliance, and admin efficiency, but to name a few. All right, so here one is to make sure that you understand what these are and how we put them into effect. At work, as an example, the physiological safety is usually used as a vehicle to improve team performance, right? This is, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Safety, innovation, and engagement, although it has plenty of other benefits too. In contrast, the term well-being encompasses a broader spectrum of our lives, including physical, mental, emotional, and social dimensions. What is the difference between health and wellness? And understand the difference between health and wellness. In short, health is a state of being or mind, whereas wellness is a state of living a healthy lifestyle. Health refers to physical, mental, and social well-being. Wellness aims to enhance the well-being. Very, very point. A valid point indeed. What is the definition of health and safety? The standard dictionary definition of health and safety is regulations and procedures intended to prevent accident or injury in the workplace or public environments. What do you understand by safety? Again, according to the definition, safety is a freedom from those conditions that can cause death, illness, or injury, damage to loss of equipment or property, and damage to the environment. Okay. What is an example of EAP? Examples of EAP include mental health counseling, child or elder care, relationship challenges, or financial or legal advice. What are the EAP companies in South Africa? Top EAP providers in South Africa is Metatopia for work. Metatopia for wellness offers a comprehensive EAP focus on mindfulness and personalized self-care to enhance employees' mental health and resilience. Life Employee Health Solutions, all right, Careways, all right, as well as others that incorporate or not envelop, umbrella, fall under one umbrella to make sure that the EAP or the Employers Wellness Program is not just voluntary based, but based in terms of professional people that can add the appropriate value to all forms or parts of an organization, but also to achieve the overall service delivery of having healthy, fulfilled, and employees that are willing to or engaged in moving forward for the betterment of themselves and said organization. All right. In that, there, excuse me, there in front of you, the benefits of the employee assistance programs are: 1, increased employee productivity; 2, reduce absenteeism; 3, enhance employee retention; 4, improve workplace morale and culture; and cost savings, to name a few. What are the health and safety regulations in South Africa? The Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 of 1993 requires the employer to provide and maintain, as far as reasonable and practical, a work environment that is safe and without risk to the health of employees. What are the safety regulations referred to in the workplace? The workplace safety regulations are designed to protect employee safety, prevent accidents, and ensure that businesses comply with legal standards. Adhering to these regulations is essential not only for the employee well-being, but also for the business continuity, avoiding legal issues and maintaining a good reputation. Excuse me. What are safety regulations? Safety regulations are mandatory rules designed to prevent or reduce injuries and ensure workplace health and safety. They encompass a broad range of topics, including occupational health and safety, risk assessment, fire safety, and the use of personal protective equipment, PPEs, as in during the COVID time. These regulations are crucial for protecting employees and other individuals from hazards. How many regulations are there in occupational health and safety? There are quite a few. There are 22 regulations in climbing, which is good. These regulations are divided into several main groups, including general health, mechanical, electrical. Occupational Health and Safety Act has more than 50 sections that address different aspects of the Act as described. The 3 main types of safety is physical, emotional, and financial. Physical safety refers to freedom from bodily. Emotional safety refers to the psychological harm, and financial is from financial hardship. What are the 3 basics of workplace safety? Is know how to participate, refuse unsafe work, and embrace your right to safety. Okay. 5 things you must know about the Health and Safety Act. Let's see if anybody else here has joined or... Nazreen, good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon. Good evening. Are you there? Nazreen's not there. Okay. Let me... Oh, okay. To answer your question, ma'am, no, it's not. It's just an exercise for you to do of your self-record. There's only been 2 so far, ma'am, and 2 so far, and there'll be 1 more, which I will do next week for LU6. But no, not to worry. It's not about... It's not for marks. It's just that I'm trying to get people to think out the box, and that's what it's about. All right. But I'll carry on. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat, and I will obviously answer them where I can. All right. Thanks. So here are the 5 things you must know about the Health and Safety Act. It sets out employees' duties as well as that of the other employees. The Act applies to all workplaces. Safety representatives are provided for in the Act. All instances access must be recorded. The Act is enforced by inspectors, which is vital. All right, next up, the areas of health and safety policy. 1, statement of intent, which is applied to all organizations. Responsibility for health and safety. Arrangement for health and safety, to name but a few. Okay, I'll come to that now. Next up, the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. All right, spelling is poor there. I will, let me go through it quickly. All right. The South African labour legislation that establishes and regulates the minimum terms and conditions of employment for most workers. Its purpose is to give effect to the right to fair labour practices, ensuring fair treatment in areas like working hours, leave, wages, and termination. The BCEA sets out minimum employment standards which are the basis for any employment contract and helps create a productive, and fair work environment. What are the basic conditions of the Employment Act as an AI interpretation? The BCEA, South Africa's fundamental labour law, sets the minimum standards for employment, including fair wage, working hours, leave entitlements, termination notice. Its purpose is to give effect to the constitutional right to fair labour practices and the country's obligations to the labour relations by organisation, and by regulating these core employment terms for most employees and employees. Key provisions cover maximum ordinary work hours, minimum annual leave, and fair procedures for dismissal, aiming to protect vulnerable workers and promote a balanced employment relationship. The key aspects, and just by way of where we are, let me just do this. Okay, so here you can see an example of the Labour Relations, so the Basic Conditions of Employment Act of 1997. As you can see, I put it in there for the simple reason to show you the amount of detail that is covered by the Act for all, I repeat, all of the above and more. All right. So as an example, there would be the key aspects would be your working hours, leave, wage and overtime, termination, child labor. I don't know why they always do this. Record keeping, fair treatment, application, and these are just to name the few key aspects, and there are a lot more. So again, understand what they are and make sure that you know what they are in terms of, and if you Google it, you can see that there is a basic framework, which I have the BCEA in terms of a summary, okay, which I think I put in here. Here we go, which is the summary, but it gives you breakdown of this document, okay, in detail. So here I would ask you please to go get a copy of it. Am I on the right slide here? Yes. A copy of it so you can ensure that you understand what they are in terms of the key aspects of the BCEA. All right. The overall, in terms of the Act summary, the BCEA establishes, okay, we've done this slide. All right, so let's go back over here. All right, so again, understand what they are, and please get the summary document out, and it will tell you and explain to you in detail what those requirements are. Okay, so this is an example of the Act. All right, but again, please make sure that you understand the Act and how it gets put into operation. Next up, we're going to look at compliance, all right, which looks at resolution and conflict. Here, what are the laws that govern workplace in terms of, what's wrong with my throat tonight? The main employment law statutes of South Africa are the Labour Relations Act as amended. What are the actual rules and regulations? Human resource policies are continued guidelines on the approach of which an organization intends to adopt in managing its people. A good HR policy provides generalized guidance on the approach adopted by an organization and therefore its employees, governing various aspects of the employment. What are the three most important legal issues in human resource management? They are health and safety, legal entitlements, discrimination, harassment, confidentiality, employee labor rights. It's crucial that they have knowledge of all laws that affect human resources management. Okay. What are the three basic rights of an employer? Is right, excuse me, right to a safe workplace for free of dangerous conditions, toxic substances, and other potential safety hazards, right to be free from retaliation for filing a claim or complaint against the employer, and right to fair wages for work performed. What are the basic HR policies? They are employment contracts, termination of employment, maternity and paternity leave, prevention of sexual harassment in the workplace, public holidays, in workdays, and restrictive clauses in employment contracts, and gratuity and provident fund, to name a few. Oops, come on. Okay, what are the 5 major kinds of employment laws? There are quite a few out there of late, which include your civil rights, family and medical leave, workers' compensation, and labor relations laws. Other types of employment statutes include workforce safety, compensation, child labor, and immigrant employment statutes. We're going to go through workers' rights. You know what they are. What are the workplace rights and responsibilities? Your work environment is safe and provided appropriate protective equipment if necessary. Workers are free from discrimination and bullying. You receive all your entitlements in terms of pay and conditions. Okay, here is the basic conditions of employment act. Again, please see all the detail. You can see over there. Okay, and here, you get down a bit. Is a basic condition of employment of 2025. All right, what I need to show you that you need to be mindful of is the level of detail that goes into that you understand what the requirements are and how you put them into effect. Okay. What are the employee responsibilities? Employees have your rights and responsibilities is provide and maintain a workplace, plant, and systems of work so that you and other workers are not exposed to hazards, provide information about the hazards and risks from your job, provide you with instruction, training, and supervision so that you are able to work safely. What is HR rules and regulations? They are, okay, policies that are continuing guidelines on the approach of an organization intended to adopt in managing its people. A good HR policy provides generalized guidance on the approach adopted by the organization, and therefore its employees concerns various aspects of employment. Oops. All right. So again, understand not just the employers have rights, but the employee has rights too. All right. Here is the example of how the government, all right, underpinned by the healthcare system as example and the population, and each one drives the main ethos of understanding across the population, policies and resources, or laws as we would probably call them, okay, which provide the service of HR into the government in terms of institutional and political undertakings. So again, the reason what I'm trying to show you is it driven by a process of understanding and a process of relevance. Okay. What are the 7 major HR activities? You know what they are, but just in case: recruitment, selection, performance management, learning and development, succession planning, compensation, benefits, and human resource information systems, and HR data and analytics. Human resource policies are continuing guidelines on the approach of which an organization tends to adopt in managing its people. A good HR policy provides generalized guidance on the approach adopted by the organization and therefore its employees concerning various aspects of employment. Here, when it comes to resolve disputes, one thing you can clearly see that you have the dispute, you can go about to the Commission of Arbitration or to the Arbitration Council, which will then, from a conciliation point of view, failure to resolve application to the Labour Court, and then the order will be decreed. Okay, so again, from an understanding point of view. And again, what I'm trying to show you is in over here, this again is a process, the evolving process of understanding and how you do it. Okay, next up, the basic and guideline Labour Relations Act. Here, we need to understand in today's world that labor relations is ever evolving, and there are certain parts of the economy that are not subscribing to the Labour Relations Act, and they would be your National Defence Force, the National Intelligence Agency, and the South African Secret Service, to name but a few. I'm not going to go through the whole thing about dismissal, but what I want you to take away is understand this process, which then tantamount to how you understand that in terms of what's requirement and what are the requirements of the definition of a dismissal, which means quite simply that the employee has broken a rule. Simple. Okay. I repeat, a dismissal that when it comes to that dismissal part of the process of the labor relations journey, the employee has broken a rule or a dispute has been applied. Okay. All right. Next up, we'd obviously go into this a lot of detail if there was people on the call. but because of nobody being, I can't talk to myself, so I will have a look there. The only three grounds for dismissal: conduct of the employee, capacity of the employee, and operational requirements of the business. If an employee wants to dismiss an employee, there are 5 vital elements to substantive fairness. The accused did not commit the misconduct. The employee knew or should have known that the conduct was an infringement of the rules. The rule of standard was valid and reasonable. The rule was consistently applied. The misconduct was serious enough to merit the harsh penalty of dismissal. Over here, again, from a process resolution point of view, the management resolution, the conflict competence, and the prevention and containment, to name but a few, are around solution of understanding and solution in terms of the escalation of the conflict versus the time. And the last tier is the dispute resolution in the conflict and the integrated management of conflict in an organization. All right, again, here we spend some time on this and making sure that we go through what all the requirements are in terms of, and there's nobody else. Oh boy, oh boy. Anyway. All right, let's just wrap it up. There are some of the reasons for dismissal, there are numerous. Remember, it is about a breach of a rule or a policy that has been broken or terminated. Okay. So they are absenteeism, alcohol abuse, breach of restraint of trade, desertion, disability, email, failure to observe security and safety regulations, gross incompetence, gross negligence, illegal striking, incapacity, insubordination, moonlighting, poor performance, refusal to work, retrenchment, sexual harassment, sleeping on duty, theft on timekeeping, to name a few. Here, the legal regulation of human resource management is prospective employees, protection from discrimination in selection, initial job placement, initial compensation on the current employees. This will then encapsulates protection from discrimination in performance appraisal, subsequent job placements, training and development opportunities, career and promotion, career opportunities, and all other dimensions of work in the organization. Unfair dismissal is when a working tenant to or did not take part in an unprotected strike, refused to do the work of a striking locked out co-worker, worker is forced to accept a demand or the worker intended to take action against the employer by exercising the right to take part in strike proceedings. And there are numerous out there. I'm trying to get my voice is hearing. But again, I want you to take away is the unfair dismissal policy, all right, and procedure that one needs to adhere to all the time. I repeat, and this we would have gone through in detail or discussed in detail via a quiz. But again, understand what those capacities are and how you do them. All right, in terms of the Constitution and fundamental rights that are there in front of you, we will have gone through this in detail. That's how each one, in terms of the Labour Relations Act and international conventions, are applied with. Therefore, what it means is the ultimate body of legal compliance is the Constitution, as well as the law that subscribe to the Constitution by the Labour Relations Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Skill Development Levy Act, as well as the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which all subscribe to our Constitution. Okay. Unfair labour practice, we've covered that, which is subscribed to over there. Okay. To understand what all those requirements are. Whoopsie daisy. In terms of the dispute procedure, when unfairly dismissed, a worker can refer to dispute for conciliation in writing to the Statutory or Bargaining Council or the CCMA. Referrals must be made within 30 days of dismissal or 90 days of the date of an Unfair Labour Act. 90 days of the act when a worker becomes aware of an unfair act. Please note, it may be referred to after periods of if the worker can show good cause. The employee must receive a copy of the referral, okay, as noted. Okay, I'm not going to go into a lot of this because it is relevant in terms of where we are and what we're trying to achieve. And the changing role of human resource management in the workplace today. An example would be the new responsibilities of HR managers, and you can add into that the role of AI and how it will evolve over the next 4 or 5 years. looking at your strategic human resource management, which creates high-performance work systems to measuring of the team's human resource team performance and managing the human resource scorecard process. This, again, is descriptive in terms of what we're trying to achieve and how we put it into effect. This then drives the understanding of what the requirements are and how we need to put it into effect on a consistent basis. This is driven in terms of where we are and how we need to put it into effect across various roles of human resource management. And this is inclusive of AI, all the chat DPTs out there, and the Grok 5 that's coming out. So all of these play a fundamental role, which we need to understand around what we'll do. And we'll touch on this, excuse me, in 2 weeks' time, of what the requirements are. So the important thing to understand here is what they are and how you need to do them. And again, just to mention to everybody that, again, your second formative assessment is due. First one is due quite sharpish. All right, I can't call the exact dates, so I'm just trying to get it quickly. The system is a bit slow this evening. It is due on the 15th of October, so we will have next week our NSS session, which I'll do the recording for you. It'll also be on the announcements from this session going into next week. And the 15th of October is a Wednesday, which is literally 2 weeks Wednesday. So next week, Wednesday the 8th, I will load on in the YouTube channel the recording for how to go about answering the excuse me, assignment 2. Okay, and obviously the closer to the time we will get the date when it comes to the exam, which will be pending. All right, are there any questions, ma'am, you'd like to ask? I know you can't speak much. Are there any questions you would like to ask? Oh, there we go. Nazreen, any question you'd like to ask, ma'am? Nazreen, you there? Maybe she's going home. Well, in that case, if there's nobody else, thank you all for dialing in. If you listen to the recording, it'll be loaded as per normal. Thank you for your time that when you listen to the session. And yeah, please take note. It's very important to set this learning unit, and it's applied to the objectives of what we're trying to achieve in the session. Nazreen, ma'am, are you there? Okay, let me stop the recording.